everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bin, where we take you behind the proverbial trash bin and we break down some of the builds we do here at Puppet Trash. My name is John Steiger. I am the guy here at Puppet Trash. This week's episode is going to focus on this week's video. So that makes sense. We took a gorgeous Nespresso bag and we turned it into a peacock. That's sort of coffee themed, so we called it the Percolating Peacock. So let's go behind the bin and check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4!
Yeah.
So this week's inspiration kind of came from two places, really. My wife is a huge Nespresso addict. I'm just gonna call it what it is. She's a huge Nespresso addict. The other week, she bought some more pods for her machine, and they came in this absolutely gorgeous bag, and it reminded me of the plumage of a male peacock, and just how beautiful that is. The colors were all there, and I was like, okay, all right, so there's something there. My wife's very good at checking in with me now, where whenever she gets something, she's like, is this trash or is this a puppet? I'm doing my best to control myself, but I'm very lucky. I love you. We found our core piece of trash, and around that we kind of made it out of other coffee materials that you would find just about anywhere, the little cardboard cozies that go around it and straws and things like that. But there's a puppeteer called Barbie Dixon who I really enjoy watching. He's a brilliant builder, he's a brilliant puppeteer, and he's kind of created his own style of puppetry. His hands are integral to the puppet itself. So he kind of dresses up his hands and makes them look like legs or arms, and the mechanics that he uses are absolutely brilliant. I'll put a link to his stuff below because I really do admire his work. I do not know him personally, but if you're watching this, what's up? Let's hang out, make some puppets. It'd be cool. So I wanted to do something where I took, you know, my hands and incorporated them into the puppet in a very practical way. What you'll see is the legs are my fingers, and the way the plumage works is it hides my other hand, and that's kind of how it works. We'll break it down in the video, obviously. But those were the two main sources, was this gorgeous Nespresso bag and Barbie Dixon, this builder and puppeteer who I really, really admire. So I thought this week would be a great chance to marry the two together. Let's go ahead and take a look at Percolating Peacock. All right, we're all set here, so let's break it down. So I pre-made the plumage there. So when you look at it, what you don't see is that the whole back of the bag has been cut out. I was very nervous about doing this. I knew I needed it to be pre-made so that I could switch it off really quickly, but I didn't know. I was like, is the bag gonna hold its shape? Are you gonna be able to see it? Am I gonna be able to put things and pull things out of it? I got very, very lucky because I think it came out very, very well. And if I didn't tell you that the whole back of the bag was cut out, would you know? I don't think you would. That was some of the prep work. There was a bit of prep work that came into here, the legs, some of the painting and things like that, which we'll look at as we go down, but that was the first big piece. And then you'll notice that when it gets thrown on a table, there's a bit of a difference. I couldn't use the whole bag yet because I needed it for this first shot. So once I throw it in a second, you'll see front plumage on it, and that was basically the rest of the bag getting cut up and used. There's that front plumage. So that's just leftover foam that I actually cut in half, which was, I don't recommend doing. The box cutter was very close to my hand, so please don't do that just don't do that. I shouldn't have done it. I did it because I'm crazy. So I cut it in half for the proper thickness, and then I painted it and left it in what I call my Dryomatic 5000, which is basically just a box that I put, and I just put a fan over it, and it helps dry things quicker. Foam didn't hold this acrylic paint super duper well. May have still been wet when it might still be wet now, to be honest with you. But I didn't want it to be that weird creamy color. It was a peacock, so I went blue. I'm not crazy about the paint job on this, but I'm not crazy about it, you know? that spring came from an old pen that had run out of ink or was broken or something, and so I took the spring out because I wanted the head. You know, birds have that. You know, they do a lot with their heads, and so I wanted that sort of. Barnaby Dixon calls it sympathetic movement. I don't know if that's like a general term, but that's where I heard it first, and I really love that saying. And it's basically movement you kind of get for free, and so I wanted it to have that sort of, you know, bird peacock movement, and I was like, springwood should work, and it kind of worked. Like there's moments where it locks in, you get that movement that I really want. And of course we had to have the head plumage as well, which is just another piece of the bag. And the body is just a Nespresso pod box. There's a piece of elastic that I threaded through it that fit right around my wrist here so that it would hold, and then my top hand kind of held it as well, which we'll see a little bit later. That's something I didn't put in the video initially, is that there's a little piece of elastic inserted on the bottom there for my wrist. So the legs are just those cardboard sleeves that you put around the cups that keep you from burning your hand, essentially. And then the toes, the talons, whatever you want to call them, are the tiny little stir straws that you use in coffee. Trying to keep on theme. I think that transition's so funny where he kicks it and all of a sudden it gets put together. So this is basically it. I mean, we pre-made the legs, the body, and the plumage, and it was just a matter of assembling them. We had some leftover stuff that I could use in the videos to kind of show you like the before and then the after. So it's relatively simple build. The movement for this was interesting to discover on the spot. Because I build these things and then I figure out how they work pretty much on camera as you're watching it, which is great and also terrifying because it might not work. I don't know. There's that head movement. Without all the peacockness of it, I've got my hands here representing the legs. They're down at the bottom there. And then the box sits on top of the hand, and then my other hand sits on top of the box like this. And I just move my hand like that, and that's what activates the plumage. It's a really simple mechanic, but I think it works really well, and it gets these individual pieces of movement, and when they lock in together, they look quite natural. I still have this puppet, and I think I'm going to play with it a bit more because I think there's more that can be done with this. This is hard. Like, it's very hard to operate the legs and the body and everything else with your hands and also make it look natural. One of the big things I found was my thumb, ring, and pinky finger really needed to be locked in there. Otherwise it would look weird, or it would look like it was definitely a male peacock. Keeping it tight there makes it look like part of the body. And that was a tricky thing to remind myself as I kept doing it. You probably can see it slip here and there. That was something really interesting to discover. And then hiding the hand worked really well because the plumage was super, super big, but making that plumage look natural was difficult. See the hand slip there and there. This is such a unique thing because there's so many little things to think about that if they slip or they get seen, the illusion gets ruined a little bit. That's always something I know I'm always thinking about. I wonder if other puppeteers think about it. If you're a puppeteer watching this, please let me know. Those little tiny things that if the finger pokes out in the wrong place, or the movement gets choppy, or you slip your arm down a little bit, these tiny things that I think you constantly have to keep thinking about because they can ruin the illusion. Maybe not for good, maybe it doesn't ruin the whole thing, but there are lots of things to think about. There's so many different things to think about with puppetry that I don't think people realize, but that's kind of good because when you watch a magic trick, you don't want to think about every single step that has to happen. You just want to believe in it. So yeah, you know, we made a little peacock. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of Behind the Bin. I wanna thank you so much for sticking around and watching. I really enjoyed this build. It was fun, it's beautiful. There's things I would change looking at it now, but the nice thing about this is that now that I've done it, I have a jumping off point. If I get inspired to do something similar or this style again, now I have something that I can pull from. What worked, what didn't work, what I can do better, what I can prep more. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is just doing the things, putting it out there, and learning from it, and then continuously growing. So I hope there's some growth happening that can be seen. It feels like I'm growing and learning with this, so I really appreciate you guys for hanging out and experiencing that with me. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out the original short without me blathering over it. I'll put that somewhere in this realm here. Please continue to stay kind, stay creative, stay fun, and I will see you next time. Bye. 1, 2, 3, 4!